Hello lovelies, my name is Martine and welcome to the start of a new reading vlog. So today I decided to do a mood reading vlog, and basically that means in the next couple of days I will just be reading whatever I decide on a whim to pick up. But currently I am actually reading something that I'm kind of in the mood for, but not completely sure. I'm actually reading two books, but the second one I think I will not be continuing because every time I pick it up I've just been like meh about it and I'm just getting tired of that book. So I think I'm just not gonna read it any longer and just stick to this one that I own physically that I've been enjoying way more, even though I'm less of a way into this one. But that is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonin Young. I finally picked this one up because I thought it was a perfect book to read during like the end of October, the start of November. So today is November 1st, so perfect time to pick it back up. I did read the first chapter a couple of days ago when I went out, so I should be in chapter 2 still. I have my tab there, yeah. So chapter 2 is where I'm at. I don't really know much about this book. I just know it has a pregnancy trope. It's set on a it starts out on a Halloween party between, and these two they hook up, but the girl becomes pregnant and they decide to keep the baby and co-parent together. Basically you're following their journey throughout her pregnancy, and I guess other things ensue like a romance between them two, but the plan isn't for them to fall in love. I don't know, that just sounds like something I'll like, and so far from what I've read, I'm quite enjoying the two characters, especially Bo. I like him a lot, so I'm gonna continue reading Out on a Limb and see how that goes. And maybe I'll pick something else up in the middle of reading this, or maybe I'll just pick something else up after finishing it. I'm not sure yet. So I may pick up a fantasy, maybe not. So yeah, that's the plan so far, and yeah. Good morning. Okay, it's Saturday morning, and today I thought I would start the day off by sorting out my November TBR since it's officially November. Well, yesterday was November 1st, but yeah. I'm finally getting everything together, and I picked up my TBR. Obviously, Out on the Limb is on my November TBR because I'm currently reading it and I'm going to be finishing it in November. I have three ones that I don't own, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading them in November as well. So I want to read Sword Heart by Tegan Fisher. At this point, I've just been reading everything Tegan Fisher basically each month. So continue that tradition. I'm going to be giving Sword Heart another try because I do think it's a book that I picked up in the wrong time. I I did sort of like the main character in there, so I'm gonna try it again and see because it's gonna be republished next year. But I want to read Tegan Fisher's untraditional published version first. Like I think that'll be better for me. But then I'm gonna buy the physical copy when it's traditional published because I do like how that one looks. But I want to read it first, I want to read it first before I buy it physically when it's traditionally published next year. Another one I want to read this month as well is Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is I've actually been reading that series, Done and Dusted. The series, I don't know what it's called. I think it has a town name, but I don't remember what the town is called. But I actually do enjoy reading those books. I like them a whole lot. They're like the only cowboy romance I've read at all the past few years now. So, but they're really quick to read and just cute. So I want to continue reading them because I really like them and I love the covers. So why not buy them physically and read them if I enjoy reading them? Then I want to read The Teller of Small Tales. That's one I have on my fall TBR. Which, speaking of which, my fall TBR, I've read basically 90% of everything I've mentioned. And if I haven't read them, it's because I've DNF. I think two of them are DNF, and I'm not going to read them at all. So it doesn't count on fall TBR anymore since I didn't like it. And I think an Academy of Liars is one that I haven't read yet. And what's another one I haven't read that I still want to read? I can't recall for now. I know an Academy of Liars is one for sure that I haven't picked up during this time for the fall season. But I've been reading quite a lot from September to October. I read 12 books in September, 13 books in October. That's much more than I usually read at all in a month. So that's quite surprising for even me. I don't know what's been going on, but I've been reading like nonstop because I read more consistently each day. I might not read like 100 pages a day, but I realize just reading 40 pages here and there each day gets me through a lot of books. Who knew? But yeah, I've been enjoying reading a lot this year. I feel like I'm back in my reader girl era because when I was in college, I was struggling not gonna be lying. I was definitely struggling in college to read for fun. And then I have right here my physical TBR. It's not much. Might change. I do have. Oh, before I get into the physical TBR, I actually have one to unbox. That's also on my TBR. So I got Legendary. I read Caraval last week. Yeah, last week I read Caraval. I gotta think about it. It's still this week. I'm just in the weekend of this week. Yeah, it was actually like Tuesday I read Caraval. I finished it on Tuesday of this week. So yeah, Tuesday I read Caraval and it was so good. I liked it a whole lot. It was so whimsical and beautiful. The characters in there, I really like them. So I want to continue reading the series, and so I picked up Legendary. It's quite a hefty book, but I'm excited. I want to know what goes on with this character that is in the second book, because the synopsis, I read it and it sounds so fun. So that's the first one for my physical TBR for November. Then I have Spark of the Everflame. I did recently buy this one, but I was looking at it. I was looking at it on my TBR card, and I kind of really want to read it, so that's why I added for November. And then the Wishing Game. I just think this one is perfect to read during the fall season, so I'm not gonna miss the time frame to read this one, so I'm just gonna pick it up. And I'm in the mood for something very whimsical and just comforting, and this feels like one of those books, so that's why I picked it up. And I wanted to reread of That Time I Got Junked and Save a Demon. This is one of my favorite books of, I think, 2021. That's when I read it. I've always been trying to reread this one. I did try rereading it via audiobook this year. That's why I have some tabs here, but I actually hated the audiobook, so I stopped my reread, but I'm going to continue again, just physically reading it. This is the traditionally published copy, so it's a bit different, but I don't know. I think the audio narrators, I just didn't like their voices, so I didn't enjoy reading along with it at all, but I still love the book. I just don't like the narration. So I'm going to read this one without any audio narration, because I already know I loved it, so it will be okay. I won't be reading this one like one sitting maybe, because I want to take my time and going back over my favorite scenes and stuff. It's very much a humorous fantasy romance, and I just liked it a lot. And lastly, The Prisoner's Throne. I want to finish this one this year because I did read the first book, The Stolen Here, this year, so I want to read and complete the series this year so that I can get a couple series done before the year's end, because if I linger it too long, if I let the series stay there too long, I will just not pick them up. So just like Crooked Kingdom, I made too much time pass to read Crooked Kingdom, and now I have to go back and reread Six of Crows, or at least read some certain scenes in Six of Crows so I can feel the vibes again before I go into Crooked Kingdom. So I'm going to read this one. Since I still recall a whole lot from The Stolen Here, I think it's perfect to just read this one now and get it over with, get some series finished on my TBR. So yeah, that's a stack of books I want to read in November. So that's my little November TBR. I did work on my reading journal, my digital reading journal already for November. And I have here my coloring book because I'm going to work on that now and listen to the audio narration of Out on a Limb because I'm quite enjoying it right now. I actually put in I actually annotated in here and said that I can see this book being a new favorite romance because it's just, the humor in there is perfect for me. I like it a whole lot and I just love the characters. And that alone in a romance book is enough for me to give it 5 stars. So hopefully nothing really annoying happens in here that will make it lower my rating. But so far, it's looking good. Okay, so I've definitely been very bad at updating this reading vlog because I've hardly been reading consistently this past few days of this weekend. So, what was there to update? But actually, yesterday I read up to page 184 of Out on a Limb. So, I'm making progress. I am over halfway through this book, I'm sure. Yeah, over halfway. And I'm actually really enjoying it. I like how the chapters are kind of focused on certain weeks of her pregnancy as it's progressing. And I do relate to that a little bit because I did have a baby last year. So it's very much relatable and I'm enjoying reading it. I like how Bo treats Win a whole lot. Like he's very sweet and I'm actually so invested in the relationship. I want it to go further than what it is right now. But it's so cute and so funny. That's how all the characters in here, their humor, I really like it. And I just think it's so sweet. It's so sweet. I love a book like this, honestly. So far enjoying Out on a Limb. And I did want to pick up something else. I tried last night picking up Once Upon an Apple. It's like a fantasy historical, I guess historical fiction, or it's like a fantasy in a historical setting. I realized this year I really like a good historical fantasy, especially a romantic one. So I wanted to find something around that genre and that's what I found. It's self-published and it looks so cute. So I picked up it. I only read the first chapter, so I really don't have much to say about it, but I think I am going to continue reading it because it's really cute. So I'm enjoying reading that one. And I did work on my coloring book. I have to put this like thick sheet underneath the pages because it will bleed through and I don't want it to ruin the other pages. But so far, that's what I've been up to the past few days. So Saturday was the last time I updated, and today's Sunday morning now. Only been updating in the morning except for Friday night when I started this vlog. But yeah, now I'm gonna finish up reading Out on a Limb today, continue reading Once Upon an Apple, and see where everything goes. I am having a great time with Anna Lim, and it's all because the characters. I love them so much. Win and Bo, relationship goals. I'm just so invested in this little romance between these two that it's honestly surprising. Like, what is in this book? I don't know. It's just their chemistry is just really there. And I find that most romance books I've picked up throughout the years that I don't enjoy is because I feel like their chemistry isn't all that great. But this has a bit of a slow burn vibe to it. Even though it started out with a one night stand, it still managed to have a good slow burn. And I'm eating that up so much. Like I'm loving it so much. I'm listening to the audiobook and also reading along. I have so many annotations because I'm like eating it up. Like it's so good. I think this is gonna be a new fave. I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like it's gonna be a new favorite romance. And I barely have 5-star romances, so crossed my fingers that it's a new 5-star romance because it's so sweet. I'm loving it so much. I don't want anything bad to happen. I don't want a stupid third act breakup. They're not even like together, so I don't think there would be. But I I love it so much. My last really good 5-star romance of this year was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I love that book so much because it was so emotional and sweet and everything in one, everything that I really love in one. So it is with happiness that I say this book gave me the same feelings. Like, honestly, if anything, it kind of gave me more. I really like the ending. So good. The extra scene in here. I don't know if every copy has an extra scene with Win and Bo and all your friends and families meeting together. I love that one so much. I literally kind of teared up a bit, and I really usually don't care about those events, but I like this one a whole lot because of their story, knowing their backstory and how everything wrapped up. I was a bit emotional, not gonna lie. So yeah, Out on a Limb, 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars. Like, oh, it didn't disappoint me at all. I'm so happy I finally picked it up, and I feel like it's perfect the time that I picked it up. I picked it up nearing Halloween. I think it was the day before Halloween. Yeah, and I finished it November 3rd, but it's like a perfect time period to read it during the last days of October and the first days of November. That's a perfect reading time to read this book because it starts out on a Halloween party, so it's in October, it's set in November, and then it's set throughout the whole year. I was so happy just reading this because I really liked their first interaction. it had like this great chemistry, even though it's their first time meeting each other. And then as the book continues, they kept on having this really good chemistry. And that had me so invested in their relationship. So I was like, I feel like this might be a 5 star because it really also read like I was reading one of those Emily Henry books. Like I read Funny Story this year and I was saying I really like how Emily Henry writes. She has a great balance of humor, romance, and more serious topics. And Out on a Limb had that similar vibe as well. Same as Abby Jimenez books. They're all like cutesy, humorous, but very serious. And I just love that in romance books. I like it when it's all of that combined and like it's done in a really nice way where it's not too focused on one thing. It's focused on all these things, but in a really balanced way. So Out on a Limb gave me that. So I really enjoyed it. I am excited though to read Out of the Woods. I think that's what it's called, coming out next year by her. That's really why I wanted to pick this one up because I saw that one and I was like, I want to read that. We'll be definitely reading more of this author's works because I got a 5 star from her. Like, that's not usual, especially for romance books. I don't really rate romance books 5 stars because I always feel like I didn't get enough, you know? I'll give them 4.5 stars. Like, I gave Funny Story 4.5 stars. I really love Funny Story, but not to the point where I would give it 5 stars. And funny enough, I gave People We Meet on Vacations 5 stars, but that was years ago. And I think if I reread it, I wouldn't have given it that. So I'm gonna keep it that way because that was the time period I read it, and I don't see myself rereading it. But I do still like Emily. I do still like Emily Henry enough where I would continue reading her works because her stories are the type that I like in romance books. They are interesting enough for me to continue reading them. So now that I've said all of that, I am gonna cook some food and pick up Once Upon an Apple because I am in the mood for something like that right now. So that will be my next read, Once Upon an Apple. I guess today I'm gonna close off this vlog since I wanted to make it a weekend vlog and the weekend is over since it's now Monday morning and I didn't do much reading other than finishing Out on a Limb. I am happy that I found a new 5 star romance during this mood reading weekend and I did continue reading Once Upon an Apple, but I just wasn't in the mood for it, I guess. And the weekend is over, so I don't want to continue reading that and force myself to read it when the whole point was just a mood read and get any book finished that I'm just in the mood for. And since I got a new fave, I'm happy with that result. So I'm gonna close off this vlog here today with having only read Out on a Limb, which was so great. I had a great time during this weekend just finishing up this book and staying with these characters. It was so sweet. And now I think I'm gonna focus on the rest of my November TBR. And I have some things coming soon that I'm happy about. So I guess my next vlog will be about that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.